Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast, episode number 7. The numbers are starting to rack up. I feel like every week, it feels like last week was the first week. And we're already on episode number 7, a month and a half through this.
It's gone by so fast.
And every Tuesday comes up, it feels like a day. Probably because like the weekend hits. My weekend is normally like end of Thursday till Tuesday. So like those 5 days just fly by. And then Tuesday hits and we're right back here.
Yeah, my week, I'm always busy Monday through Friday, Saturday and Sunday, throw that in there too. But yeah, I'm glad we're back. Thank you everybody for joining us. As he said, it's episode 7 of the Standing Room Only podcast. Of course. You
can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at SROnlyPod. You could follow our personals, the Healy6 on Twitter and Instagram. For Goose, it's iGoose with 4 O's. Don't ask him why.
Don't ask why.
But you can find him on the same social media platforms. We're going to start off with baseball this week. Like always, we go baseball, football, basketball. If you're only here for a certain segment, you'll get used to like skipping through stuff and getting a general idea. But baseball, Steven Strasburg, the World Series MVP, re-signs with the Washington Nationals. $245 million for 7 years?
7 years. It's a record high for a pitcher. Looking at, what's that, $35 million a year.
Yeah, $35 million a year. Insane money for a guy who pitches one every 5 days. The Nationals, their formula of going all in on pitchers has worked.
Yeah.
It worked last year, and they're going to continue to go with it. You've seen in the past few World Series, pitching matters. If you have those aces, especially like multiple guys, yeah, Scherzer's aging a little bit. He's still a top dog.
Yeah, he's still a dog out there. He's always going to pitch great. I mean, how old is Max at this point?
I think 36.
He's been around for a while. There's some pitchers who lasted a while. Historically, we know like Curt Schilling lasted a while.
Justin Verlander's been amazing.
Verlander,
he's like 38.
Yeah, he's been in the league for as long as I was in my teens. I can tell you that.
Yeah, Scherzer's 35.
35 years old.
Mm-hmm. He'll get better with age. He might lose some velocity. We'll have to see. He's a gamer. The good reason for re-signing Strasburg, though, you have at least 2 aces in that rotation. You have Patrick Corbin, who's a sick number 3.
Oh, yeah.
And when it comes to playoff times and injuries always plague sports. And with injuries, if one of your top guys goes down, you'll still have another one right there.
You have the next man up. And I think, personally, it was a good deal for both ends, Strasburg to stay with Washington, and then Washington to actually dish out that amount of money. For one, I mean, he's the World Series MVP. He's close to unhittable, and they still have amazing talent on the offense. Depending on what Rendon does, we don't know what he's going to do yet, if he's going to re-sign. I don't know if he will. I highly doubt it. Maybe he will.
There's a lot of rumors right now that Donaldson could go to
And that's another bat, but they have talent all over. Wouldn't be surprised if they make another playoff or another World Series run. Is it a lot of money for a pitcher? It's a lot, but
especially with all the money that they've spent on Corbin and Scherzer.
Exactly. So, but I mean, pitching is defense, and defense wins championships normally. So,
and also like it's not too bad of a deal too, because he still had 4 years left on his Washington deal. So like if he didn't opt out, they would have had him for 4 years. They just re-signed him for an extra 3 now, and it's a little more money. At least they kept him around. So it's not too big of a deal. They already had the budget in place to pay him for those 4 years.
Yep.
It's not too much of a difference.
Somebody was going to pay him. I don't know if he would have gotten $35 million a year, but he would have been pretty close.
I think the Padres could have put up that amount. Yankees were probably going to go after him.
Yankees always have a high budget, yeah.
Well, the Yankees haven't won in a decade. This is their first decade. They haven't won a World Series. So their starting pitching has not been the best, and it's been a big reason why they haven't really made a World Series. Yeah, they have a great bullpen, but their starting rotation, they don't have that dominant guy.
Exactly. You're giving up runs early. They have really good bats, but when you're in that AL East division, when the AL in general is stacked, it's tough.
Speaking of the Yankees, Didi Gregorious, 1 year, $14 million to the Philadelphia Phillies. He was rumored to go to the Reds. That's why I almost said Reds. They both are colored red. So he goes back with Joe Girardi in Philadelphia. That's great for him. Just the chemistry right there. Another reason why it's a good signing for the Phillies, only a 1 year deal, 14 mil. I was thinking he might get 9 or 10. An extra 4 isn't bad for 1 year. You're going to have extra money like that doesn't get spent anyway. So the 4 years right there. Also, if you guys don't know, I think 92 homers of Didi Gregorious have been pulled in his career. He played at that short porch Yankee Stadium, and that helped out a lot. I was afraid he would go to like a team and you'd see his home run production go down. Maybe not at Great American Ballpark, but at Citizens Bank, it is one of the best places for left-handed hitters to hit. So he'll have another good pull area to hit baseballs and hit home runs. And we'll just have to see what that does. Gene Segura was their free agent. He had a disappointing year. Or he was their shortstop, not free agent. He was their shortstop. I don't see them moving him around the infield. Maybe he could move to second base if they don't find a deal for him. I think they move him, though, because he still has a couple years of team control, and they might get like a better bullpen arm or something of that. So a lot of questions from that Didi Gregorious signing for the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah, it's Segura. I mean, he's a good player. Obviously, as you mentioned, he didn't ball out like we've normally seen him do. He was with Seattle.
Yeah,
correct?
and he was a high contact guy.
Yeah, and looking at his contract, I don't know how much. Do you know how much he made? I'm only seeing recent years. He was just about $3 million. I'm sure it had to be a lot more last year. But I mean, considering, as you said, he could swap over to second base. We've talked about it before. Second base is a rather easy position for anybody to swap to.
He's supposed to make $14 million the next 3 years, and then $17 million in the fourth year. So $14 million for the next 3 years
Each?
Yeah.
Oh.
Each
Oh.
for Gene Segura.
I don't know if it's worth the risk. I would definitely shop him. I have a feeling that's what's going to happen then. If he had lower contract on the books, then I would say definitely try to work with him and Gregorious. But I mean, for $15 million a year versus a $15 million contract in total, that makes all the difference. You can definitely try to trade him for an asset or clear up some space, maybe sign somebody.
Yeah, he didn't hit too bad. He hit 280. He had 743 OPS. Yeah, his OPS plus didn't result in 100 plus. He had the most doubles he's had in a few years. He's had the most home runs he's had in a couple years. I don't know necessarily where that OPS plus comes from. Maybe because he played in Philadelphia and they might have a more hitters ballpark. Who knows? His defense last year wasn't the best. He had a good defensive year in 2018, which was really good. I think he might, if he stays with Philadelphia, it won't be bad. Like, they can keep him. They can absorb that money. Their best bet, though, would be to try and trade him for, like, bullpen arms and get that 14 mil and allocate it to something else.
Yeah, and I mean, $15 million for baseball, I know it sounds like a whole lot of money. It's a good chunk of change, but as you said, you can allocate that anywhere. I would say maybe try to keep him and see what he does. I mean, that they have a pretty good offense there as far as like bats go by adding Gregorious. I mean, Gregorious wasn't the best. He was hurt last year. Who knows what he's going to do? Change his scenery. Maybe there's competition, and Segura wants to maybe step it up a little bit. He's had good years, Arizona and Seattle, so who knows? Maybe it'll light a fire under his ass a little bit.
If they hold him, they could play him at third base or second base.
Yeah.
Third base has been a weird spot. I think the Phillies, they've also been in talks with trading for Chris Bryant. So maybe they trade Segura in that trade to swap money in the deals. Who knows? Segura might come to the Cubs. He could play second base, be a leadoff hitter. I could see that happening. But we'll just have to see. We'll have to wait on that. That's pretty much been all the baseball news in the past week. Zach Cozart got traded to the Giants. A lot of money off the books for Anaheim. Zach Cozart played 96 games the past 2 years. He's owed like $12 million this year. They're trying to spend money and get there. The Giants are like, okay, we'll take him.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good move for the Angels to just trade him. He's not saying he's a bad player, but if you don't play, it's like it's not even worth it. Just clear the books.
Angels got money in the deal too. They didn't even get a player back. They got money and like a player to be named later. And also, the Angels gave up their first-round pick of 2019, which is kind of weird. You don't see first-round picks get traded right away. You wait to see if they develop and then become something.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, your first-round picks are like, okay, we'll keep you around and see what you can do because we thought so highly of you.
Yeah, it's a first-round pick, especially with baseball when there's hundreds and hundreds of prospects out there.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I didn't realize. So they traded their first-round pick and Cozart
for money and
a
player to be named later.
So basically they want the money. They're gonna try to make a splash in free agency.
Yeah, they're gonna try to get Rendon, Gerrit Cole, maybe Josh Donaldson. They're gonna try to make some push.
I'm sure Trout would be happy for that.
I want to see him in the playoffs.
I want to see Trout win at least one World Series in his career. I mean,
it's a shame that he signed with the Angels, so like he's kind of stuck there.
He's loyal.
Yeah, it would have been nice for him to like sign a big deal, like maybe not like for his full career. He'll retire an Angel. It would have been nice to either see him sign a long-term deal, but he would have been done early enough to maybe like at tail end of his career he could just sign with a contender, or maybe just not sign that extension and then he becomes a free agent and signs with a good team right then and there who's in contention for the World Series.
Yeah, but that extension they gave him, that was right after, was it Machado or Harper signed, and then they gave Trout the extension as to say, just like, screw everybody. Like
Harper signed, Machado signed, and then Trout.
And then Trout,
because Machado was waiting to see what Harper got.
Yeah, that was a weird free agent. I'm glad that all's over now. So, but yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the MLB. So we got a couple signings. It's been interesting so far. I'm sure next week we'll have something.
I'm glad that we're able to talk about baseball every week. I'm glad with baseball being my favorite sport and being able to talk about it, I'm glad that I get to talk about it for at least a few minutes every time.
Mm-hmm.
The last bit of news, somewhat MLB related. MLB tweeted about it. If you guys play video games, MLB The Show starting in 2021 will be available on pretty much any console.
All platforms.
Nintendo tweeted about it. Xbox tweeted about it. And it'll be awesome. As a guy who plays MLB The Show and promotes MLB The Show videos, it's going to be good for me. The community will grow. And as baseball fans, like, that game should grow the popularity of the game in general. Because a lot of kids growing up, they'll play the baseball game or they'll play sports games, and that's how they get invested in the sports. With baseball only being on one console, not looking too great. And now with it being available on every single console, kids will grow up being able to play a baseball game, a good one.
Yeah, I know for me growing up, there was always options. And MLB The Show, I never really got to dip into, only because it was so limited to the PlayStation console. And I've considered multiple times getting it, but there was just never enough convincing to get the console just for the one game. And then I don't game as much.
To spend like $400
yeah,
on the
it's
console.
just not worth it. And I don't game really anymore, but that's huge news. I'm glad, because I mean, for a while when I was still gaming, I was like, man, I was an Xbox guy. I'd go online, whatever it may be, but never had an MLB game. I was stuck playing Madden, and you know how Madden goes. 2K is my game. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for the MLB. let's move on over to the NFL. It's a few different headlines. I think we can start right now with the Patriots losing. There's a couple. The Patriots are in the news, obviously, for their potential cheating scandal. Did they cheat? Did they not? I think it's kind of weird that there was footage that was confiscated from a Patriots staffer who was at the Bengals and Browns game, who was apparently recording. They were shooting footage for background footage for a video feature about the day-to-day work of their advanced scouting department.
Very weird.
At a Bengals game, not a Patriots game, which I get it. They're scouting. I'm sure they had this fallback, like, hey, if you get caught, say this.
Mm-hmm.
It's just weird that Patriots every few years are always, they're
always scheming.
Always, yeah, they're up to no good. Ironically, they're facing the Bengals next week. It's just kind of weird that they would, if they're gonna cheat, or if they've been doing it all year and now finally somebody caught them. But for the Bengals, I don't think they need it.
No.
I think their defense alone is going to put up more yards and points than the Bengals offense. So, but besides that, it is kind of weird. Patriots lost another game. I don't want to say another like they've lost a lot, but they lost to the Chiefs in a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, 2 losses in a row.
2 losses in a row.
The first time that a quarterback 25 and under beat the Patriots in Foxborough. Under Bill Belichick and Tom Brady.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a good stat to know. Wow. Well, to add on top of that, the Patriots have 3 losses. I think I texted you earlier. I was like, holy shit, look at this. Their 3 losses are to all AFC division leaders, the Ravens, the Texans, and now the Chiefs.
Which isn't good, because you're going to face those teams in the playoffs.
Exactly. I don't want to say I always said, was it the Patriots are that good, or was it that their schedule was that easy? And I feel like there's definitely a mix. Like their defense, I don't want to take anything away from that amazing defense, but their offense is struggling right now. They miss Gronkowski.
And they have like no wide receivers.
They have, I almost said Wes Welker. They have Julian Edelman, who's good when there's other major targets on the field. Like Edelman's gonna grab his little 5-yard catches. Not really a deep threat.
Enough.
It's not enough. Eventually, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets hurt because they're gonna keep forcing balls to him. James White has to get utilized a lot now.
I haven't heard his name in a while. And normally you hear him catch like passes and dump offs.
Yeah, he's usually big in playoff games. A couple weeks ago, he had a huge game. I only know this because he's on my fantasy team, which I made it to the next round in 2 leagues. Wish me luck. But yeah, so James White, Sony Michel isn't running the ball that well. I don't even think he's that good, or maybe it's just their team. But Brady needs some targets. They said they will not go back after Antonio Brown, which I don't blame them. I'm sure Antonio Brown may just say, hey, I would do it, because, I mean, it's more money for him. But as of right now, the Patriots in the playoffs, if they don't get this first-round bye, they're going to have a tough time.
Oh, yeah, especially with Brady getting pressure now. He's getting a lot of pressure in recent games.
Yeah, I mean, and without those targets, like I said, without Gronkowski, that sure, like, check down or quick, streak route down the field, it's not the same. And they have Benjamin Watson at tight end, who's been in the league for 38 years.
I think he's mainly like a blocking guy.
Yeah, there's some games where he gets a big catch and that's it. But yeah, the Patriots, again, I wouldn't bet against
in the playoffs.
Yeah, you never bet against Brady or Belichick.
I would have to see the first round, but also after like every game, every round the Patriots advance, they just get stronger.
They do. They're a very good playoff. They know how to manage. They're really good at clock time management. They're very good at moving the ball
and not making mistakes.
Yeah, they play the game, the 4 to 5 yard game on offense, so they're always playing for the first down. It's like small ball in baseball, right? you guarantee you get on base, bunt the guy over, you have your third man up, right? Get him over, and let your team do its thing. They have a very good defense, and that's why I say I wouldn't bet against them, because with a very good defense and on the offense you have Tom Brady, anything's possible. It's just tough. They do have Cincinnati in the next game, which should be a win, but then they have Buffalo.
That's gonna be a test to see, like, all right, are they official? They did beat Buffalo in Foxborough, I think.
That was in Foxborough. No, I lied. That was in Buffalo. So they are going to be home, but they barely beat them by like a touch. They put up 17 points. But they're only a game ahead of Buffalo. Who's to say?
And Buffalo lost this weekend.
They did. Well, they lost
the Ravens.
Yeah, they lost to the Ravens. But the Ravens are so damn good. Lamar Jackson is so damn good. I as of right now, the Ravens are hands down the top team to me. But yeah, so it's interesting to see what the Patriots are going to do, if they're going to crumble, or if Belichick's going to do Belichick things and Brady's going to do Brady type things, and everything's just going to work, and we're going to watch another Super Bowl with the Patriots, and I'm going to cry.
Yeah, they won't be good.
So, but besides that, there was some good matchups.
Talking about the Bears beating the Cowboys Thursday night football. Bears came out firing.
The Bears.
They went down early, and then they just scored, like, I think 21 unanswered before halftime. Mitch Trubisky looked great, and he used his legs. I remember talking about it in a previous podcast. He wasn't using his legs, and last year that helps out a lot, because then you have to have a guy watch him. That's one guy not in coverage, and also one guy who might not even be rushing to get
the quarterback.
You. And last year, I remember his stats were so much better out of the pocket.
Yeah, and we've talked about it so many times. Trubisky has some speed on him. It's not like he's Phillip Rivers trying to run down the field.
You saw in the option. He had that option. He had like a 30-yard touchdown, which was
that
sick.
Run was awesome. There was some garbage time at the end, and Cowboys came back, but the Bears, I felt like, controlled that whole game. The defense played great, minus giving up the early touchdown with Ezekiel Elliott scoring, which, again, I was cool with. I have Zeke on my fantasy team. But, I've always said Trubisky, as soon as he's allowed to just do whatever he wants to do as far as scramble out of the pocket, we're going to see better results. I mean, it's one thing to force a guy who isn't he sucks in the pocket. When you force a guy to stay in the pocket who's not that great of a pocket passer, who has to focus more on that, you're going to see bad results. Now he's taking the ball and he's scrambling out. And I'm pretty sure I heard somewhere that there were some plays where it wasn't even designed for him to scramble out, but he took off out of the pocket and made some great throws on the run. He's playing mindless. That's where Trubisky is going to excel, and that's going to open up a plethora of options for this offense.
Yeah, I'm not sure where this offense was in the first half of the year. It would have been sick for them to like deploy it and execute it well, since they're close to the playoffs, but they might miss out barely. And if they actually played well the first half of the year, they could be right up there in the division. They could have had 9 or 10 wins.
Yeah, there's a couple games that they lost where they should have potentially. There's a game against the Chargers. They missed a field goal.
The Rams, shit the bed.
Yeah, against the Rams. And honestly, their defense, they played pretty well.
I think it was like 13-6 or something. It was less than 20 for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, the Bears, if you look, they've only given up 232 points, which leads they're second in the NFC behind
the 49ers,
which the 49ers are playing out of their mind. Besides that, there's like no other teams minus Buffalo and New England that are actually better than those other two teams in the NFC.
They just don't score.
They don't score the ball. And, I mean, I know when I tell Bears fans, I'm like, you don't think the Bears could sneak into the playoffs? And I know that came up on, I believe, last week's segment, and everybody like laughed. They're like, "Oh, funny, you're a cheesehead. You're messing with me right now." Like, That's a possibility. The Rams are not as good as, well, they did beat up on Seattle, so maybe they're coming back around, but I don't think the Rams are as good as they were last year. And Minnesota has a tough couple of games. They still have Green Bay. They still have Chicago. And Chicago, I believe, if they beat Minnesota, will get that tiebreaker. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen in the last 3 weeks here. If Chicago doesn't make it, I guess finish strong.
Yeah.
Come on next year and understand, hey, they're going to keep Trubisky and he's the future. Let him do what Rodgers does in Green Bay. Let him scramble and throw on the run. Or out of the pocket, not even necessarily on the run.
Yeah, that's where he's excelled. So we'll have to see. And also, like, at least it won't be a disappointing year. The Bears at one point were like 3 games below 500.
Yeah.
And now they're 1 game above 500. If they could finish 8-8 or 9-7, yeah, that's disappointing because they won 12 games last year and they were a top team. But like with the start that they had this year,
and that's all it was.
Might as well.
Yeah, and I feel like it was due to play calling too. I've been saying it all season, like just the scheme that they had last year versus this year. Coach Nagy, I feel like everything's Allen Robinson, which is fine. And then you'll get Anthony Miller on a random deep corner route. Good. They did not get that run game going at all. And it doesn't help that you force your quarterback to stick in the pocket and then, you want to run. Okay, you can run up the gut. You can run a draw here and there. But it's like teams know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. And Mitch got those extra yards for the Bears and kept drives alive.
And it keeps the defense on their heels. They don't know what he's going to do. You know what I'm saying? And that's going to open up, like you said, you're going to run, the defense, you're going to take a man off. You're going to run a quarterback spy or a contain, whatever you want to call it. Now you're running an end because Trubisky's kind of fast. So you're going to have an end or an outside linebacker, maybe a middle linebacker watching him. Well, he's going to scramble out of the pocket. Somebody's going to follow him. Middle of the field's open.
Yeah. He'll free up a lot. So we'll have to see what they do the last couple of weeks. Cowboys and Eagles are now tied for the division lead, 6-7. That's awesome to see. Possibly the second ever below 500 team to make the playoffs. Both the Seahawks and the Rams a long time ago were 7-9. And the Seahawks ended up making the playoffs. They won the division. But we all know how that game went. It was the earthquake. Marshawn Lynch's amazing run.
What do they call it? Can we say it on the air? His run? No, I don't think we can say it. Anyways, I remember that because that was against the Saints.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had his run, jumped into the end zone.
The nut grab.
The nut grab run. We'll call it the nut grab run. That was, man, I remember that like it was yesterday. That was crazy. But yeah, it's weird to see. Easily one of the worst divisions I've ever seen. They have a combined, I was just adding it up, 23 wins on the season. I don't think
they don't have 23 wins.
No, well,
they have 17
for their division.
Yeah,
17 wins. My math is completely off right now, but you are right. 17 wins. Horrible. There's not another division that has less than 20.
You could take the top 2 teams from every division, and you'll get at least 16.
Yeah.
So 4 teams. That's an average of 4 wins per team. The Washington Redskins, they're still in consideration for the division at 3-10. It's kind of bad. The only thing I won't mind Dallas or the Eagles making it below 500. The only thing that will be annoying is that they're guaranteed home field advantage
for at least the first game,
which I think they should. It's not bad if a 9-7 team makes it and a 10-6 team is the wild card. It's just really annoying when the below 500 team has to host probably an 11 or 12 win team.
Yeah, there was a year when somebody won. Didn't a team go 11-5? And
the Patriots.
The Patriots
and Matt Cassell.
Yeah, and
Castle.
Matt Castle, and they didn't even make the playoffs. So
first time ever.
Yeah, so there's situations like that'll happen, and I mean Dallas, Philly, and the weird thing is though, they will be an under 500 team, but they're not the. I don't know. Dallas has a really good offense, but I don't think they're as bad as their record. Maybe.
Their team makeup is great. Their play calling is garbage.
Horrible.
It's been garbage.
And Dak is clearly, I take back everything I just said. Dallas is garbage. They do not beat teams over 500. They put up probably the top 5, top 6 most points in the NFL against the garbage teams. In garbage time against the Bears, Dak is not a $40 million quarterback. As a matter of fact, he's barely a $25 million quarterback. If they want to give him the money, do it. Don't think he deserves it. The Eagles have a weird team where they could possibly win a first-round playoff game. But either or, I don't see either team doing anything. We saw the Eagles beat the Bears last year in the playoffs, but then again, the Bears beat themselves.
Yeah, the kick at the end definitely hurt them.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I know it's a touchy subject.
The double doink.
Yeah, that was wild.
And the Eagles almost lost yesterday. They had to have like a 70-yard drive to extend it in overtime, and then they had like another 70-yard drive in overtime
OT
to win
against the Giants, which the Giants are
garbage.
Easily one of the worst teams, yeah. So that's pretty much it for the NFC East. We had the 49ers and the Saints.
That was a shootout.
Jinx. In a shootout. That was crazy. They were scoring left and right, and I did not expect that at all. I didn't think Garoppolo had it in him to drive and score that many times.
To match New Orleans in New Orleans.
In New Orleans.
That atmosphere, the
is
best
nuts.
in football, just because of the dome.
Yeah. I heard it's one of the loudest stadiums next to maybe Seattle.
Seattle is loud, and that's outdoors.
And that's outdoors, exactly.
With being an indoor stadium, the sound doesn't leave. It stays in there and echoes.
Yeah. So, obviously, the 49ers got a last-second field goal, won the game.
Shout out Robbie Gould.
Robbie Gould, good as gold. Man, think about all the games in the playoffs the Bears would have seen if they just kept Robbie Gould. Anyways.
Yeah, if they would have spent that $2 or $3 extra million.
Yeah, I think it would have been worth it. Sorry, Chicago. Maybe your next kicker. But yeah, so the 49ers ended up winning. It was a shootout. Saints balled out. 49ers defense, I don't want to say got exposed because they were facing Drew Brees, Michael Thomas. I mean,
one of the best offenses. Quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, for the past
on
few
the road.
years. Yeah. So overall, fun game to watch. Better than I thought it was gonna be. Saints, yeah, they lost, but definitely it's gonna be, if they end up playing in the playoffs again, that's gonna be the game to watch.
Michael Thomas, 11 receptions, 134 yards.
He's as good as gold. Minus his one drop that broke his record that he had going, where he didn't drop a pass for I don't know how many attempts. That wasn't in this game. It was the game before.
Also, Emmanuel Sanders had a touchdown.
He had a passing touchdown.
Yeah, passing touchdown.
Yeah, that was
and a receiving touchdown. And he had 157 yards.
Yeah, he had like 35 fantasy points. So shout out to all the Emmanuel Sanders owners out there that actually started him.
Alvin Kamara has been weak.
Yeah, he got hurt and just is not the same. I don't know if maybe he's still limping along because he hasn't had those big plays. And then they have Lat Murray in the backfield who's been breaking the big plays. I think
had to have like a 70-yard drive to extend it in overtime, and then they had like another 70-yard drive in overtime
OT
to win
against the Giants, which the Giants are
garbage.
Easily one of the worst teams, yeah. So that's pretty much it for the NFC East. We had the 49ers and the Saints.
That was a shootout.
Jinx. In a shootout. That was crazy. They were scoring left and right, and I did not expect that at all. I didn't think Garoppolo had it in him to drive and score that many times.
To match New Orleans in New Orleans.
In New Orleans.
That atmosphere, the
is
best
nuts.
in football, just because of the dome.
Yeah. I heard it's one of the loudest stadiums next to maybe Seattle.
Seattle is loud, and that's outdoors.
And that's outdoors, exactly.
With being an indoor stadium, the sound doesn't leave. It stays in there and echoes.
Yeah. So obviously, the 49ers got a last-second field goal, won the game.
Shout out Robbie Gould.
Robbie Gould, good as gold. Man, think about all the games in the playoffs the Bears would have seen if they just kept Robbie Gould. Anyways.
Yeah, if they would have spent that $2 or $3 extra million.
Yeah, I think it would have been worth it. Sorry, Chicago. Maybe your next kicker. But yeah, so the 49ers ended up winning. It was a shootout. Saints balled out. 49ers defense, I don't want to say got exposed because they were facing Drew Brees, Michael Thomas. I mean,
one of the best offenses.
One of the best offenses
quarterbacks in the league.
Yeah, for the past
on
few
the road.
years. Yeah. So overall, fun game to watch. Better than I thought it was gonna be. Saints, yeah, they lost, but definitely are gonna. It's gonna be if they end up playing in the playoffs again. That's gonna be the game to watch.
Michael Thomas, 11 receptions, 134 yards.
He's good as he's as good as gold. Minus his one drop that broke his record that he had going, where he didn't drop a pass for I don't know how many attempts. That wasn't in this game. It was the game before.
Also, Emmanuel Sanders had a touchdown.
He had a passing touchdown.
Yeah, passing touchdown.
Yeah, that was
and a receiving touchdown. And he had 157 yards.
Yeah, he had like 35 fantasy points. So shout out to all the Emmanuel Sanders owners out there that actually started him.
Alvin Kamara has been weak.
Yeah, he got hurt and just is not the same. I don't know if maybe he's still limping along because he hasn't had those big plays. And then they have Lat Murray in the backfield who's been breaking the big plays. I think come playoff time, he's going to be a key factor. If they can't get him going, knowing how talented he is, and you're going to rely on Brees to Michael Thomas or, Jared Cook or whoever it may be, yeah, they could still win football games, but Kamara's got to get going at some point.
He was a huge impact before. He had 13 rushes for 25 yards, not good. And he had 4 catches for 18 yards.
Not good at all. And then Lat Murray, I think, had like 6 rushes and had like 60 yards total in the game.
7 for 69.
Yeah, I mean, they are completely two different styles of running.
2 catches for 25 yards.
Yeah, he's good. He's definitely one of the better backups in the league. He was good as a starter a few years ago. The Saints obviously already clinched their division. That division was kind of on the weaker side than what I thought it would be. It's weird seeing Tampa second.
It would have been nice for home field advantage, though.
For the Saints, yeah.
I think they still hold that spot, maybe.
No, well, technically San Francisco has their
Well, I'm talking about like the first round bye.
For the first round bye, they will get that. Because Seattle, no matter what, if they are the wild card team, will be on the road.
Yeah.
For not the first game, but every game after. Depending on who they play. Green Bay's 10-3 right now. I believe. I don't know who holds the home field advantage because it's conference record. Packers are 7-2, and New Orleans they're 8-3. So I think maybe New Orleans. I'm not sure.
Has Green Bay and New Orleans played?
They have not.
Then
So it should go off the conference record, and I don't know the percentage there. My math obviously is not on point tonight. But either way, it's going to come down to the last couple of games. I'm hoping Green Bay gets that first that home field advantage and that first. It's going to be a first round bye too. Green Bay with their weather and the cold, teams do not play well there. So we'll see. Minnesota's another team. They're one game behind Green Bay. They have the second wild card spot. I don't know if Minnesota really is going to hold on to that. Kirk Cousins, the past couple of games. Last game, I guess he was okay. They played Detroit. They got the win. They won 20-7. Detroit was on like their 14th string quarterback. But they do have the Chargers, and then their last 2 games is going to be the toughest matchup with Green Bay at home, but also the Bears at home. So they do have, I guess, a home field advantage, but they are playing 2 of the toughest teams, even though the Bears' record doesn't show it.
They're 4-1 in their last 5. So this is gonna be a fun game to watch this week. Also, if we'll have a little wager. If the Bears lose this week, for the next podcast, I will wear a cheese head.
You will actually wear a cheese head?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have a cheese head?
Yes.
You do?
I have multiple.
Can I ask why?
Because my relatives live in Wisconsin.
Or are you trying to tell me something else here,
No.
Healy?
No.
Well, okay. I like that. If that's the case, if the Bears win, that's tough. I don't own anything Chicago for the Bears. I'll find Bears gear. I will wear, if somebody out there has like a Chicago Bear like hat to wear, like the actual bear, like, you know, like the mascot, anything Chicago, I'll find. And I will definitely wear it in the next podcast. I will be very upset and sad. But we can do that. That's a good wager right there. I like that.
Yeah, growing up with a lot of Wisconsin relatives, got some cheese heads.
That I can see that. I used to have a cheesehead back in the day. My dad's a Packers fan, the only Packers fan that I know in my family. Everybody hates him. Everybody hates me. We're a team. We're a duo. We take the shit talking, and we just let our team win. But that's going to be a good matchup.
Yeah, the Bears, what was the first matchup? It was Thursday night of the first week.
It was one of the weakest games I've ever watched in my life for a Packers-Bears game. Packers gave up 3 points, I believe. I think it was like 3-10 or 3-13.
Oh, yeah, it was terrible.
Remember, it was just boring, and we were like, why wasn't it the Super Bowl matchup on Thursday when it normally is, which would have been Patriots and Rams, and it was bad. It was just overall bad.
Yeah, both teams are garbage, and hopefully this time there's a lot more scoring. We'll have to see, though, because the Packers' offense, they've been scoring like 20 points or something.
It hasn't been – so they beat the Redskins in this last game.
20-15.
20-15. Adrian Peterson ran the ball extremely well. When I say extremely well, he had like a good 5 or 6 runs where you're like, wow. This is the AP. This is the AP that has always ran all over Green Bay. Aaron Rodgers cannot get off his ass. He is constantly being rushed. He's constantly being hit.
And it won't be any different this week.
It will not be any different. Khalil Mack, I have nightmares of. We all are aware that Aaron Rodgers is fragile at times, especially against Chicago. So that's what I'm worried about. If we can get some protection for Aaron Rodgers, whether if it's an extra second in the pocket, it's going to be a huge game. Fuller's been playing out of his mind with Chicago. I'm pretty sure he's going to be the man guarding Adams. Adams, I mean, he's normally unstoppable, so we'll see him and Aaron Jones. I mean, it's a good running receiver combo.
And luckily for the Packers, the linebackers for the Bears, Smith is out for the year. Danny Trevathan broke his arm. So the middle linebacker position, very weak for the Bears. We'll have to see how that pans out.
Yeah, those injuries definitely, but they've had a couple guys step in, and they just have a really good defensive scheme. It's gonna be a good game. Do you know what the spread is on that game by chance?
No, I don't.
I wonder what the spread is. Let's take a quick look at that. So we have Chicago in Chicago against Green Bay.
It's in Green Bay.
Or I'm sorry, in Green Bay. Chicago played home. Let's see. Tickets are cheap. They are. I do not see a spread right now. Odds. So they have Green Bay by 4.5 points.
Which makes sense at home.
The over-under is only 41.5. I would take the over. I would definitely take the over on that game.
Yeah, 20 points per team.
Yeah, 20 points per team. Packers defense, are they good? When they want to be.
They were to start off the year.
They were. But then, as usual, our defense ends up giving up big plays, big runs, whatever it may be. They're going to score over 41. The spread, I would take the spread for sure. 4.5. Green Bay by 7. Bears need this. Bears lose, they're out at this point.
It's a must-win for both teams.
Yeah. They're both playing. They both have a purpose. With the Rams' potential to lose, it'd be interesting to see.
I think they'll wrap up NFL news for the most part. As always, Lamar Jackson is the MVP. He'll end up being the MVP for the year.
Yeah.
No need to talk about it.
Yeah, there's no need to talk about MVP anymore unless something happens, which even then, there's 3 games left. He's got 40 more ankles to break. To all the Deshaun Watson fans, I apologize. It is not in the books for him to win MVP.
Same with Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson had an amazing year. It's just the things Lamar Jackson's doing.
And the Ravens are playing well too.
Exactly.
Which helps out a lot.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I think let's transition over to the NBA.
And we're going to start off. We went to the Bulls game yesterday. Bulls versus Raptors. First full game I've seen all year. First Bulls game I've attended in like a year. It was great. It was fun to watch. But yeah, a lot of Bulls struggles.
Yeah, it was my first Bulls game of the year as well. It might be my last Bulls game of the year. There was a lot of takeaways from that game. It was up and down. It was a close game. They played well.
They did. They fought with the Raptors.
The whole game, it was like a 1-point game. We eventually, though, in the fourth quarter, had 7 or an 8-point lead.
Yeah, and it dwindled down.
It dwindled down. And there was at one point, which Gafford came off the bench and
he was a beast.
He produced.
He grabbed boards, got blocks, he scored.
Efficient scorer. He's really good, especially since Wendell Carter fouled out. And Wendell Carter, to me, is small for his position, playing the center. Not to take anything away from him, he still grabs his boards. He gets a few blocks a game. I don't want to say a few blocks, but he can have a few blocks if he wanted to. Gafford played amazing. Levine was on fire in the first quarter. He had like 17 points, and I was like, wow, we're about to see another big game from Levine. He's about to top his performance from a couple weeks ago, and he took a shit.
17 points in the first quarter, 3 points the remainder of the game.
The remainder of the game.
I thought, I told you after the first quarter, I'm like, he could score 50 points. We could be seeing a 50-point game, and he didn't. He was quiet the remainder of the game.
Yeah. And
super unfortunate.
And it wasn't, it just got sloppy at times with this team.
Everybody
was just shooting.
Yeah. They shot like 25% for 3, and they shot 53s. You got to make at least like 30%.
Yeah, you got to give it at least 30%. Toronto did not shoot the ball well at all either.
No.
So that kept them in the game.
They ended up getting free throws, which helped them out a lot.
Yeah, the free throws. But I think, I'm not saying it's a deciding factor in the game, but when it was a 6 or a 7-point lead in the fourth quarter with, I think, like 5 minutes left, Thaddeus Young had a foul called on him, which
I think
definitely...
it was 3.
It might have been 3 minutes.
And it gave up the lead.
Yeah, well, it inched them closer. It was like a 6 or a 5-point game, and he got... it was the free throws and the technical foul. As a veteran, knowing it's a 6 or a 5-point game, at that point, you don't argue a call.
Yeah.
Especially, he blatantly gave a hand gesture to the ref and then was just jaw-japping at him. And it's like, dude, you've been in the league for this long, and any win matters. And it was just, I don't know. I think it was an error on his part because after that, Valentine had a possession where he shot 4 threes, and we got offensive rebound after offensive rebound. Heat check after heat check, and he just missed and missed.
Yeah.
And that's on Boylan. At some point, that's on Boylan.
Yeah. Valentine had to come out at some point.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, he was hot for a good minute.
But you couldn't rely on that the rest of the game.
He's never been reliable. And I think for Boylan to sit there and, I don't know, it's just his whole...
Especially when Levine and Markkanen were on the bench.
Yeah, they were on the bench almost the whole fourth quarter. And then you put Levine in with 2 minutes left and expect him to get hot? No, you don't do that. You're going to put him in maybe 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I think it was under 5, which is still very close to the end of the game.
Yeah, but he couldn't even get hot because there were so many dead balls, fouls, and timeouts. And
the tempo changed up. Yeah, not looking too great. with Thaddeus Young that he gave up that extra point,
and they lost
a free point, and they lost by 1 point.
They lost by 1 point.
I'm not gonna say that's the deciding factor, but like towards the end of the game, that free point mattered.
We said that. As soon as he hit that, he got called for the technical. We were like, dude, that makes a huge difference in this game. Every point matters when it's winding down, especially when Boylan's the coach. And they have talent.
Mm-hmm.
Their record doesn't speak for the talent at all. Boylan is not the guy for this team. He doesn't know how to handle these guys. He lets them do whatever. If you take somebody who's been in the league a while, like a Popovich, or somebody who knows how to
manage the
rotation. You know, Thaddeus Young, I know he normally does run the point guard and did with other teams. Like he handled the ball. I feel like, I don't know, the guys just got sloppy overall. You know, Thad Young was okay. Chris Dunn was on the court for 15 minutes. And
Kobe White didn't really shoot the ball.
He was 0 for 7. Kobe White's weird. He goes on these streaks where he doesn't make buckets, but then next game he'll put up 35 points or whatever it may be. So Daniel Gafford, definitely the most efficient. He was plus 14. He had 14 points in 19 minutes with 3 blocks. There was a block that I'm pretty sure went to the second row.
He was like 15 feet in the air. It was
hang time. That kid is fun to watch.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I mean, it was a tough loss. Did we expect them to beat Toronto? I know they don't have Kawhi Leonard, but for them to play as well as they did in the first 2 quarters, then the third quarter they still played well. That fourth quarter, as they are notorious for, they just shit the bed, and I mean that's the story of their season so far. They have not played well in the fourth quarter. Markkanen isn't balling out like he was last year. I feel like he was more consistent from 3, and
he was more of like a top scorer for the team. Now
he's
like kind of like on the side. He isn't as dominant as what he's seen.
Yeah, and I don't know. They just don't have that team. There's guys, there's teams out there where you have those 2 or 3 guys that you depend on every game. Exactly. And with the Bulls, you're like, let's see who can have the hot hand today. Like I said, maybe they're doing this to see who will be the future of the Bulls. So, yeah, Levine's going to shoot 20 times. Of course, he's getting paid the most money. But then everybody else falls into play. Denzel Valentine shot 11 times. He played well. He hit 5 of 11, but 5 of those buckets, I'm pretty sure, were all in like a 5-minute span.
Yeah.
And after that, it was nothing. He had one turnover that was just really stupid. Didn't know what he was doing with the ball. It was tough. It was tough.
Yeah. Quick shout out to King of the Fourth Quarter for the tickets as well. He was unable to go to the game, so we were able to go instead. Quick statistic, though, from Mark Stroutman. He tweeted out the 8-17 Bulls have a 1.4% chance of making the postseason and have the conference's most difficult schedule remaining and the 4th most difficult remaining schedule in the NBA. The Bulls have played the 6th easiest schedule to date. The 5 teams that have played an easier schedule so far are 10-14, 13-10, 17-7, 15-9, and 16-7. With a 601 winning percentage, the Bulls have a 320. That's not good.
That's not good at all.
You had to take advantage of this early schedule, and now they have one of the hardest schedules in the NBA. Doesn't look like they're making it. And that 1.6% chance, not looking great. The Nationals at one point had a 1-point-something% chance of making the playoffs. They won the World Series. Maybe the same way.
It's a completely different sport. I would bet on them to make the playoffs only because I'm sure $20 gets you a lot of money for that line. But it's a completely different sport. They don't have it.
We've seen the team, and
with the way the Bucks are playing in the East, and
Bucks have won 15 in a row. They're 21-3, same record as the Lakers. Lakers didn't lose last week, which they normally lose once a week for the podcast.
Yeah, they're unbelievable. I think Anthony Davis had a 50-point game, and then he ended up having another huge game. Do you think we are going to see somebody beat the Golden State Warriors 73-9 record this year?
No. The Lakers, they still have. They can only lose 5 more times. They need 50 more wins, though. I don't see it. The Warriors were playing better basketball in a sense. Like, they were playing a different era of basketball compared to everyone else.
Everybody else.
They were shooting the three. They had that team that was so efficient, and the probability of them winning with how efficient they were was just unbelievable. With Steph Curry, Thompson, just all those guys who can make threes at an unbelievable rate. I just don't see it, especially with teams adapting to the 3-ball now.
Yeah.
That was like the beginning transition. That was like the middle transition to like the 3-ball era.
Yeah. Yeah, and the whole idea is run fast break offense, shoot threes, because the 3 is going to count more than 2.
And move the ball.
And just move the ball. And obviously other teams adapted to it. Rockets are known for that. I don't think the Lakers will beat.
I can see them winning 60 games.
They're going to win 60. They're definitely going to win 60 games. The Bucks will win 60 games. As a matter of fact, I would say the Lakers should win 65 games unless somebody gets hurt. But with the way they're playing now, I don't know who really is going to be able. If you look at matchup for matchup, every game that they play, who is really going to be able to contest with them? As far as field goal percentage, they're first in the league. They're number 6 in 3 points percentage. 6 in points scored. Their defense is really good. I mean, LeBron has never slowed down in his career, ever. And they have Anthony Davis, who's in his prime.
And he could be the defensive player of the year this year.
Yeah. And
the beast.
He could be the MVP. I mean, Anthony Davis, with LeBron even, is putting up crazy numbers. Crazy statistics. He had, against the Timberwolves, he put up, in 39 minutes, he shot 20 of 29. He had 50 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals.
Pretty efficient.
And then the next game, he still put up 39 points in 32 minutes. So to have him, LeBron James, and everybody else fill the role, they still have Kyle Kuzma. I like the Lakers. AD definitely, as of right now, is leading the MVP race next to maybe Luka. Luka Doncic's been balling out pretty well.
And James Harden.
James Harden, obviously. James Harden's always top 2, top 3 candidate. And then, obviously, you still have Giannis Antetokounmpo, who, with the way his team is playing, if they win 60, 70 games, I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it again.
If he goes back-to-back.
Yeah, because, I mean, all these guys in the West have another superstar on their team. Giannis does not. Even though he's in the East, it's still tough to do what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
In other news, with the NBA, we have Kevin Love being shopped currently. His preference for a team is the Trailblazers.
It would fit.
It would fit perfectly.
He's like an outside shooter. They play like the jump shot game. They don't necessarily drive. They're in a need of a big man.
Yeah. I mean, he's played in the West before. He's played extremely well in the West. He's from the area. He's from like Oregon, right?
I just don't know who they would give up. They still have a few years left on his deal, so they would have to give up someone. Do they ship Carmelo?
Ship Carmelo. He's the MVP of the league, apparently. So we're giving him awards. Ship him. No. But, I mean, realistically, they have a very good team. And if they get Kevin Love, can definitely make a run. Because now you're talking Dame Lillard, CJ McCollum, Kevin Love, all can shoot lights out from downtown. But Kevin Love also has an inside game. He can grab the board. Let's not forget they have Hassan Whiteside, who he has a lot of doubters, but when he's on, he plays great.
Yeah, he's a good defensive centerpiece.
Great defensive centerpiece.
And
Trailblazers, and then Carmelo, if he comes off the bench, or if maybe who knows? Kevin Love might play center. We don't even know. But I believe the Trailblazers should trade an asset, cash, whatever it is, to go after Kevin Love. Kevin Love's still 31. I don't want to say he's in his prime, but 31, you're still pretty damn good. And Cleveland is going to get rid of him. I'm sure they'll take draft picks. And at this point, is he worth a first round? I wouldn't say maybe.
In the NBA, if you don't have like a top 5 pick,
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't necessarily matter.
So, but yeah, Kevin Love, I would say, is definitely worth the look for Trailblazers. If not, I'm sure there's some other teams that will go after him. On the year, he's averaging about 16 points a game. He's averaging 10.5 boards a game, which is pretty good for somebody that's kind of taken the backseat to some other rebounders on the team. Tristan Thompson is up there in rebounds as well, but he's a power forward. You never really expect too much from him on the boards in general. But they definitely should look into trading for him.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a bad move in a sense. Derrick Rose hit a game winner yesterday. He scored 17 in the fourth quarter. It would have been nice if he was in a Bulls uniform.
It's crazy. Like, he does not move nearly as well as he used to.
He's adapting, though.
He's adapting. He's a hooper. He knows how to play the game. And, I mean, that turnaround that he had was it was silky smooth. And
he was so wide open.
Yeah. But that's what he's known for. He's always been that elusive. He's not as elusive, but if there was no old Derrick Rose to compare to,
he'd be good.
You would be like, shit, this guy's balling out. Like, Detroit is a good team.
Give him $25 million a year.
Right, exactly. But knowing what he's, everybody always has a comparison. I'm happy to see him to play well. I love his post-game conference. He's like, I do this shit, and he does that shit, And I don't know. I think I'm not going to say the Pistons are going to be a playoff team, but it's nice to see Rose doing what he did. He's playing extremely well. Besides that, there isn't really much going on in the NBA. No trades, no free agents, a couple injuries here and there. I know, like Porter on the Bulls, they just said he's out another month with his foot injury. So we'll see some of the younger guys step in there. I think that's pretty much it.
Yeah, not a lot of news in the NBA. Just the good teams keep winning. The bad teams continue to lose. Not a lot of storylines have developed yet. We're still early on in the season.
Still early on. I don't know when All-Star voting opens up. Don't really care too much. It's always going to be the same guys. We'll see Carmelo get voted in. I'm still trying to figure out how I'm going to work my way to the All-Star game or the dunk contest. I'm hoping Zach LaVine's in it, just to see him throw it down a few times. But yeah, that's going to do it for us, guys. I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Again, this is episode 7. Again, make sure you do follow us on Instagram, Twitter, our YouTube channel Standing Room Only Podcast. Instagram and Twitter, we are SRO Pod.
SR Only Pod.
SR Only Pod, I'm sorry. I should know that. And then, again, myself, I am Goose. My Instagram is iGoose with 4 O's. Don't ask why.
And then my handle is the Healy6. And yeah, you can find me on pretty much any platform. Healy6 on YouTube, Twitch, and like Snapchat, Healy6 as well.
Yeah.
If you want to see the wild side, Healy6 on the Snapchat.
That's hilarious. I'm not going to give my Snapchat. I don't want anybody to look down on me. Just kidding. But yeah, thank you guys again. Spotify as well, Standing Room Only Podcast. We hope you guys enjoyed listening this week. Please definitely stay interactive with us. We'll be posting throughout the week. Always ask questions.
And share it with everyone.
Yep, exactly. So, love you guys.
Yeah, see you guys later.